Good afternoon. This is the meeting of the Library Board of Trustees. It is now 4:03 and on Thursday, August the 24th, and the meeting has now begun. Okay. Prior to roll call, one of the board members is teleconferencing. So I'll read out the portion to you. A portion of this Board of Library Trustees meeting is conducted by teleconference. In that, library trustee Jenny Silveria is in Kapa'a, Hawaii, and is participating today by teleconference. In accordance with the Ralph M. Brown Act, the teleconference location has been identified in the agenda for this meeting. Shall we do the roll call?
Yes.
I read this first.
Yes, we can do that. So Library Trustee Moreau.
Here.
Library Trustee Felgu.
Here.
Library Trustee Petty.
Here.
Library Trustee Silvera.
Here.
And Chair Joshi.
Here. I would now like to request that Library Trustee Jenny Silveria respond to the following questions. Trustee Silveria, can you hear me well?
Yes, I can.
Were you able to hear our proceedings on this end up till now?
Yes,
Do you have a copy of the agenda for this meeting?
I do.
Was the agenda posted 72 hours prior to this meeting at the location where you are?
Yes, it was.
Is your location accessible to the public such that any member of the public could participate in this teleconference from your location if he or she wishes to do so?
Yes,
Is any member of the public there with you who would like to participate in this meeting, public comment portion of the meeting, or otherwise address any agenda items for this meeting?
no, there's only myself.
The Brown Act requires that any votes taken during the teleconference portion of this meeting be taken by roll call. So I will not be calling out. Okay. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you, Francesca, for setting this up.
You're welcome.
Okay. First item on our agenda is a presentation. To receive a presentation from library staff on the 2023 summer reading program. And let me introduce the presenters. Bianca Navarrete Lopez is the children's librarian, and Sarah Nolan is the programming librarian and volunteer coordinator for Monterey Public Library. Sarah and Bianca will present activities and highlights from the 2023 Find Your Voice summer reading program. The summer reading program took place from June 1st through July 29th at the library and the book mobile, and the game board was available for all ages in English and Spanish. You're on.
All right. I guess we'll make do
Is
with
the microphone on?
I don't know. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we'll make do with how it looks on the screen there. So this year our theme was Find Your Voice. And as Chair Joshi said, the program took place June 1st through July 29th. Our program always expands June and July. And all right. So this year we really wanted to make sure that everything was inclusive and continuing in the way that we've done for previous years. We offer programs and activities for all ages. Reading is not just for children. And when we're talking to people, we're telling people a lot that children model behaviors from their parents, from their siblings, and other teens, just really making sure that that we're developing a community of readers. Can't see down there, everybody loves prizes. So we wanted to make sure we had that as well. And in case you're wondering, that is a display that Bianca has made for the summer reading program. It got lots of attention. I think we had around 200 votes. Yeah. Oh, okay, great. All right. So this year we decided to do an all ages reading log, which meant that everybody was doing the same log. This is in contrast to previous years where we had a children's, teen, and adult one. In the spirit of inclusivity, we wanted to make sure that everybody was working towards the same reading goal. And it was 30 minutes, or coloring the sardines for every 30 minutes, total of 12 hours. And as you can see on the side here, we've got Monterey Bay Creamery, Pizza My Heart, and In-N-Out Burger. Those were some of the little gift cards that everybody got when they completed their reading log. And they also got entered into our grand prize drawing. That was very competitive, and lots of people were very excited about that. On the back, we had our book bingo with the activities. And essentially every time that somebody read at least 5 in a row, then they got an entry into the prize drawing. And we've got an example of our reading log, and this one was designed by Brian. So we took a lot of use of his creative talents there. And then Bianca did the book bingo. You'll notice that this year is different in the fact that it is bilingual. So we, again, spirit of inclusivity. And on the inside, this is where people had the opportunity to be coloring all the different sardines. Sardines, Monterey history. It was a real good touch. So with our numbers, so we ended up printing out 1,000 reading logs. That was kind of that's a typical amount that we do each year. And we had 915 people sign up. So that was really exciting. I would say about 1/5 of the participants were first timers, or they'd never participated in a summer reading program at all. So that was really exciting. We had 50 library programs, including lots of story times that were happening every week. And towards the end of the presentation, Bianca is going to go through some of those presentations or those programs. And we had lots of prizes, 70 to give away, and over 300 prize books were earned. So that's generally around what we get for completions. And we had about 240 hours of volunteered time for 15 people. And this year we had adults and teens volunteering. So that was really good. I'm always happy when I can get teens and adults to participate, especially if it can continue on for the next part of the year. So we learned quite a few things this year. So since this was the first time that we were doing an all ages program, we really wanted to know how people felt about it. And most people enjoyed the fact that it was all ages, that everybody was doing the same thing. There was a couple of people who did not like that, but that was mainly a communication issue because they weren't sure where the adult one was. But once we told them where it was, that we're all doing the same thing, then they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. People were very excited about the varied programs that we had. So even though we're all doing the same reading log, we wanted to make sure that everybody had different activities that were geared towards their interests and their age level, and then also programs that were bringing people together. We did try something a little different this year with the book bingo activity. So in previous years, we've done it where each bingo would get them an entry into the prize drawing. This time we opted out just to do one entry, no matter how many they did. And we got quite a lot of feedback that people enjoyed getting extra ones. What we did this year instead was do a super reader log. And so we were rewarding extra time reading, and then they were getting the extra entries into the prize drawing. So we'll probably make some tweaks next year. I think that the most interesting one, at least for me personally as a program planner, was for the to be sure to include audiobooks in our prize options. Every year we always advocate that all reading is good reading. So we want to make sure that that it doesn't matter what somebody's reading, how they're doing it. The fact is that they're including reading in their summer plans. And so we did have quite a few people who used audiobooks. So that currently is not reflected in our prize options. So we've already sourced a vendor for next year to be able to get audiobooks in there as well. And so I think that'll help make our program a little bit more inclusive. As you'll see in the event or the comment there, the person was blind and she's like, I don't even have anything that I could do. So we had to get a little creative with the prize book for her. And we went back to people being able to choose their own prizes that they were going towards. And that is the part where I say it's very competitive. We had a lot of people that were, they just every week they were coming back with more of the super reader log so they could get extra entries into the prize that they wanted. So when we were calling people, it was over 70 people that we were calling, and they were all so excited to be able to get what they really wanted. So that was exciting. Here are some examples of the ways that people were coloring the logs and the super reader logs. And I think it's just, it was really cool to be able to see all the different kinds. And I appreciate that it started off as a black and white and people could get as creative or not creative as they wanted. So it just kind of depended. And then, of course, the Little Mermaid over in the corner. I like the little added touches. And I'll turn it over to Bianca.
Hi, it's nice to meet you all for the first time. But yeah, we had, as Sarah stated, around 50 programs for our summer reading this year. And we divided those by age group for youth, as you can see here in the light blue, and some for adults in the dark blue. We also did have some programs for teens as well. Not as many as we'd hope, but we do hope next year with the possible inclusion of a teen librarian, we can increase that. And then one particular challenge that we had way in the beginning of summer is that our bookmobile, unfortunately, broke down. A part was desperately needed, but it was really hard to find. But we were able to make do with the gracious help of other districts within the city, such as janitorial and parks, who are able to lend us their vehicle to be our bookmobile for the summer. I believe we went through around 6 vehicles. Yeah. But Mary, our bookmobile librarian, she pulled through, and she also just had the books set up, as you can see in that middle picture, along the sidewalk, so that families could still see that we had our service available. And even without a proper bookmobile, we still made through with our programs for our bookmobile stops, such as Beetle Lady and Where Forest Meets the Sea. We got pretty good attendance for those. And then next slide. And then we also did a couple of programs out on the Colton Hall lawn, just outside of us. It was perfect weather for these events. We're not too hot, not too cold over in Monterey, and I like that a lot. But we actually started our summer reading program with a big sign-up event with Jermar, the magician. We've hosted him before, and he's really, really good professional, and the kids enjoyed him a lot. But we also had other performers such as Corny Crow, who was a ventriloquist, and we had Circus of Smiles. They're the two men in the red vest and red bowler hats you see on the right-hand side. And we also finished our summer reading outside on Colton Hall lawn with a big summer party where we were able to get Kona ice to give out free saved ice. You can see on the far below picture, right-hand side, Derek, actually the son of Ryan, getting his free saved ice. And on the left-hand side, you can see the bubbles that Sterling Bubblesmith performed. Overall, great attendance. We're very grateful to have a big lawn, spacious enough to hold so many people. But we also had many programs for kids inside the library as well. I host preschool story time every Thursday. So even this morning, I had preschool story time. But we actually had pretty good attendance for those during the summer. Around 60 people, I would say, every story time. It was nice. But we also have Pause to Read, where kids can read to a dog. You can see in the middle right-hand photo there's one of our volunteers. The owner's name is Carolyn, and the dog is Sienna. And one of the nice things about this program is that previously we were only doing it on the second Thursday of every month, but the volunteers talked to me and they really wanted to expand the program because they love working with kids and they know how good the program is for improving their reading level. And for the summer and even afterwards, including now, we are expanding Pause to Read to be the second and fourth Thursdays of every month. And then we also had our other regular program of sewing with Mary. Mary, our bookmobile librarian. She works hard. Not only is she working with the bookmobile, but she is teaching these kids how to sew. And later on in another slide, I will also talk about how she also expanded her program to not only working with kids, but now she is also doing sewing with Mary for tweens. But we had other performers come by too, such as Fratello Marionettes, an author visit by Catherine Burry. And I also did another program where we made friendship bracelets with the kids. And we also made some buttons. Yeah, pride buttons. I'm sorry, I cannot see it at the bottom. But I believe that's what it was. And then next slide. These are our programs for our teens and our tweens. And like I said, Sewing with Mary has expanded to being for tweens now too. As we're trying to reach an age group that is often hard to work with, but also needs as much attention as everybody else. But Brian also did some fun programs too, such as Let's Paint, where he helped the kids learn how to make some really lovely artwork. But also we also had another artist come by. He works for a program called Anime Your Way. You can see the photo up there on the top left-hand corner. And we also did some more creative programming, such as a zines making workshop, and again, more pride buttons. And the not the far left, but the bottom left photo So it's a Monterey Youth Jazz Festival performance by some very talented young adults. I think this summer reading theme was very well liked because we noticed how much our youth love to express themselves, and we want to encourage that. But also with the Pride buttons, I know that nationwide we're dealing with a lot of book bannings, and most of them fall under the category of LGBTQ books. We're very fortunate to not have to face that over here, but we still want to show our support for that community. And then next slide. And then technical difficulties. Oh, and then here we have some programs for adults. Sarah runs the Book Flight Book Club every month. Did you have anything you wanted to say about that?
Just basically that these titles, Read Dangerously and The Dictionary of Lost Words, those ones were both chosen intentionally because I thought that they fit very well into Find Your Voice. And yeah, we had some good conversations with those.
And then we also let the adults express their own creativity too. Brian also continued his Let's Paint program, but with adults patrons this time, because adults also need to find the free time and the ability to just be able to express their own creativity and art talent. But there was also Let's Make a Smash Book. We continued our Monterey Magical History Tour with Tim Thomas, and we had some MPL Friends and Foundations author talks, as well as Summer Scares, which I believe was where we had adults practice their horror writing skills, as well as a chanting, physical, mental, and spiritual well-being program. Did you have more to say about this, since I am more of a children's librarian? Not really my forte.
Sure. Well, the chanting and physical, mental, and spiritual well-being was done by one of our former staff members who kind of found her voice during COVID, and we were very excited to be able to have Anne be able to share. And then if you're curious about what that picture is in the bottom right-hand corner, that is an example of a smash book. So smash books are essentially a way that you can creatively put down like your thoughts and feelings. You use scrapbooking techniques. It doesn't necessarily have as much of the organization that a typical scrapbook was. So that was one of the examples. And then we also had a Blue Zones program that came, and that was fresh in season, and Francesca led that. And so that was really good. We had lots of feedback from that afterwards and people enjoying it.
And overall, like it says there, we had a great summer reading program. And as you can also see from the excitement in that photo of those two beautiful ladies and these two beautiful ladies up here, we are having a great time, and we can't wait for next year with the theme of Read, Renew, Repeat. Thank you. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Well, thank you. Any questions from trustees?
First of all, I think you guys did a wonderful job. I think you guys did a wonderful job, and thank you very much. And I'm sorry I missed it this year, and I'll sign up for next year, I promise. But I did have two questions. The enrollment this year compared to last year, do you have any?
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't know, but maybe Sarah,
Yep.
is it
I
high?
even wrote it down because I figured that
You
was
knew I
going to
was
be a
gonna-
question. So last year we had 1,181 people sign up. I have a feeling that was partially because it was one of the first areas that people were able to be out after COVID. And so people were just looking for anything and everything.
Mm.
I think there was a little bit more variety this year, so that was probably part of it. But even so, we've been really good about being able to print the amount in just under what it was. So like last year we did 1,200 reading logs, and I think we did a fairly good amount. But the other thing was that we had 45% of people that were completely new and had never done a summer reading program last year. And so this year it went down to about a fifth. So, but we had lots and lots of people returning. So that was good.
And one more question, and that is, maybe it's for Brian, is how did this get funded? Was this was MC Gibbs? I'm trying to, where the funding came from.
No, so the different funding for programs or trust funds, we do have some of the things are donated, as you know, as Sarah was saying, you know, and Bianca was saying. So some of the gift cards and things like that are donated by those companies, you know, Monterey Bay Creamery and others, Pizza My Heart and In and Out. They're donating those cards to all of the participants, but then we buy those items through our trust fund, and we didn't have a single sponsor for this year. One thing I am for MC Gives, because you're not looking at something that's like a continuing program. Like we plan on doing, you know, this every year. So if you go to MC Gives and you say this is something we do every year, you're not going to get on their chart, you know. So the MC Gives really has to be on something very specific, of like something new or something that's not part of your regular operating budget.
Thank you. Great work.
Jennifer?
Yeah, I'm just thrilled at the variety as a former children's librarian at Tracy Public Library. Remember how exciting it was to get a little bit of money to be able to bring in like a magician and various things. So I'm really impressed at the variety of things that you were able to offer. And I'm really impressed at having all age groups. That's my first experience with doing something on all levels. And maybe next year I'll have it together a little bit better. You should get all the board members to sign up.
That would be great.
Thank you.
Community can model after you guys.
Yeah, Jennifer said a number of the things that I had on the tip of my tongue too. So I'll just compliment you on the overall program, and especially diversity from top to bottom in many different ways. And it was especially creative, I think, to include all age groups, including adults, and not just different ages of kids, but also adults. And I gathered from your descriptions and from the photos that the activities were separated, so that one age group would be here and another one would be in a different room, and so forth. And speaking from the frame of reference of senior services, which is where I've been working for a long time now, even before I became a senior, there is a not insignificant push to create and have intergenerational programs, all the way from having activities within the community, all the way up to residential developments, that they be intergenerational. And at the level of a program or an activity, it would seem to me that would lead us to have ages in the room doing the same thing together side by side. The notion is that the older folks can get a boost out of being with and interacting with the younger ones. Mm-hmm. And vice versa, the younger ones can benefit from the, age-related experience of the older ones. So I would just throw out there the suggestion maybe that when you're planning activities, not every single thing, because, people might maybe want to be with their own age group for maybe even the majority of the time, but at least some of the time, the ages be mixed side by side doing exactly the same thing. And it'll take maybe a little bit more work on your part, but I know that's something that's out there and I personally believe in. So
Yeah.
good job. And it was very nice meeting Bianca for the first time, like you said. And another thing for the first time for me is you're modeling those library T-shirts. I haven't seen those before.
Newly designed.
Fantastic. Yeah. Now, are you required to wear those every day to work?
First time I'm
Beautiful.
wearing-
Only when you talk to the board. Oh, I see.
Seemed like a
Okay.
good time.
No, they look great. And thanks for everything.
Thank you. I would
And
just
thank you
say,
from
I
me.
would just say that that some of our programs, if you're looking on our calendar and it's a yellow color code, that those ones are encouraged to be multi-generational or all ages.
That's throughout the year. I meant
yeah.
within the summer reading program.
Yeah, there were a couple of them. I would say that during the summer, we often get them and people interpret them as family programs.
Hmm.
But that's something that we can consider for next year.
Sure. Well, maybe not even family members. I mean, you might have something for all ages within the summer reading program. And, you know, there might be somebody who's 70 years old who's never met these kids over here, but now they're working or not working, but they're enjoying the activity together,
Yeah, that's a lovely idea.
meeting each other even for the first time.
And thank you from me also. It's wonderful to see all the presentation. Are there any comments from the floor? She didn't raise her hand. Jenny, did you have a,
Oh, no, I'm just,
if you can raise
Really,
your
well,
hand,
I-
that I'll know.
okay, let's see. Okay, I have to raise my hand. All right. This is my first year on the board, and I'm just thrilled to meet you guys. And you have done a marvelous job. I'm very impressed by the range of activities and things that I would never have thought of when in my days as a public librarian. So it's really wonderful to see. Thank you.
And can I add a couple of things on there? Just that I know there have been some changes during the summer with the school district on how they're increased the number of free summer programs that are available. So I think, you know, when we look at our outreach or how we're doing things, you know, this coming year, because those things, like when you have different camps that are free, like through the school district, that does affect attendance at other programs or attendance at, for example, recreation programs or when we do our different things. And I don't think we were all aware of that at the very beginning. When, you know, we did plan our events, like our large events for Saturdays, but those are all things to keep in mind is that, you know, as we're looking at this, we always look at the calendar of like what's going on. Let's try not to make sure we are impacting somebody else or somebody else is impacting our events. But then of course, we also had our construction on Pacific Street. So I just want to mention that did affect quite a bit. If you guys remember that our parking lot was shut down or the driveway was shut down for a period of time. And so just getting in for several weeks became very difficult during the time when we were trying to run the summer reading program. So kudos to the staff for all of their diligence on, you know, keeping everything going and adjusting. And I know you had to adjust, Sarah, some of your programs for different reasons on the day. So that was great. And then Trustee Petty, just talk on your, you know, intergenerational. One of the experience I had with doing the painting classes, I had a family from Missouri, and they were just visiting a sister, and they said, "I'm looking for something to do." And the sister said, "Go to the library." So it was the father with 2 young kids, and I, you know, go to the dad, "Do you want to canvas too?" Well, sure, yeah, because it's like you want to get them. So getting the parents in there, because sometimes what I noticed with some of the parents in there is that the parents don't have the opportunity to do something alone because they're the caregivers for the children. So giving them the opportunity to do something with their child, not for their child, but doing something with and alongside the child is a really great experience as well. So those kind of family programs that we can offer that, you know, when you see the sewing programs and you see the people working in tandem, not the parent doing it for the child, but the parent doing it next to the child brings a lot of value and education for that. So I
And that
appreciate
local sister that immediately referred her visitors to go to the library. If we know who she is, you should track her down and give her a free T-shirt. Because that's what we hope will spread throughout the community. That's great.
And before going, I'll just share for how to make public comment. So if anyone here in the council chambers would like to make public comment, you are welcome to come up to the podium. If you're not joining us here in person, you may join directly on Zoom Gov from your computer or mobile device, or you may call into the Zoom meeting. To join the meeting on Zoom, use the link or phone number on the agenda at isearchmonterey.org. To call in by telephone, dial toll-free 833-568-8864. Enter meeting ID 161-352-8864, followed by the pound sign. Today's meeting is also streamed live on the city's YouTube account at youtube.com/City of Monterey with an approximate 10-second delay, and on Comcast channel 25 with up to a 90-second delay. If you plan to make a public comment, please join the meeting using Zoom or by telephone and ensure you join on time to accommodate delay. If you are joining us here on Zoom, please raise your Zoom hand if you would like to make a public comment at this time. And Chair Joshi, there are no public comments at this time on this item.
No public comments? Okay. Then we are going to move into the consent items.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Hey, consent items allow for a review of those items recommended for approval and consent and recommendation to be continued, tabled, or withdrawn, etc. Consent items consist of those items which are routine and for which a staff recommendation has been prepared. A member of the public or a trustee may request them that in an item recommended for approval on consent be heard on the regular agenda for further discussion. So we have only one, that's approval of the minutes.
I move approval.
Okay.
Second.
Can we have a roll call?
Yes. Chair, Library Trustee Moreau,
Yes.
Library Trustee Felgu,
Yes.
Library Trustee Petty,
Yes.
Library Trustee Silvera,
Yes,
and Chair Joshi.
Yes. Okay, the meetings are approved. Next, we have time for public comments. Public comments allow you, the public, to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes on any subject which is not on the agenda. Any person or group desiring to bring an item to the attention of the library board may do so during public comment or by addressing a letter of explanation to the library director, Monterey Public Library, 625 Pacific Street, Monterey, California, 93940. The appropriate staff person will contact the sender concerning the details.
And if there is anyone that would like to make a public comment, we invite you to raise your Zoom hand. And there are no public comments, Chair Joshi.
Okay, next, public appearance. Public appearance items are reports on action or informational issues that might stimulate public discussion, but that do not require formal noticing as a public hearing. You're welcome to offer your comments after being recognized by the chair. The chair may limit the time allocated to each speaker. Do we have any? No? Okay. Then next is item 3. Approve the 2024 library holiday and closure. That is on page
9.
Yes. Okay, and that's Brian. So Brian, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Joshi. Yeah. So as we'll see, we are looking at the holiday schedule, and closure schedule here for the library for calendar year 2024. I will note as in later, we don't have a timeline or plan for Monday hours yet, but we would like to get that on there. So these does reflect also our Monday closures, and there are our staff that do work currently on Mondays at the library right now. So these are our this is reflected in our City of Monterey holiday schedule as well. But you'll see there on New Year's Day, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, President's Day, the chocolate and wine benefit. And if you look at that, with the Monterey Public Library Friends and Foundation are again proposing to do it on a Saturday, early evening, early afternoon. So that's why they've proposed to us to do close at 1 p.m. So that's why it's on there again. Having a staff development day, Friday, March 22nd. That would be, we've had it at a couple different sites. So the site is, and content is to be decided, but that gives us a time for training with various full-time, part-time, and on-call staff. Memorial Day, Juneteenth is Wednesday, June 19th. Independence Day, Labor Day, Admission Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving, and the day after, which are both city holidays. And then Christmas, you'll see Christmas is impacted because of our contract, which has the full-time and regular part-time employees are off basically on the day preceding and after Christmas. So that's why that's on there. And then New Year's Day is on there for Wednesday, January 1st. So most of these are really the city holidays and impacted by there. And but you'll see on there, we do have Admission Day open, and that's traditionally, we've had Admission Day open, even though it is a city holiday. So staff are working on that day, and we just adjust the schedule for that week. And then the chocolate and wine benefit. So happy to answer any questions or comments regarding this proposed schedule here.
Bob, go ahead.
I would first the question and a comment. Do all 100% of the library staff work on Tuesday?
No, I would say 100%. Well, because we have a number of on-call and we don't have the schedule yet for our regular part-time person. You know, for Lucia is and Phoebe is, I'm thinking of the other part-timers. I believe they are. Yeah, I believe they are. I believe.
Talking to her and I didn't.
Well, so yeah, I was just asking for specific people that are part-timers. That are part-timers. Are those specific part-timers work Tuesdays? And they do. Yes.
Actually, I have two questions before a comment. The second question then is where it says each full-time and regular part-time employees paid holidays, blah, blah, blah. Is that library employees or city employees?
Both. I mean, that's the same. We are all city employees.
No,
So
but I mean, it could be just a library thing.
oh, this is all city. These are all, yeah, this is city.
Because what disturbs me is this means we're going to be closed 5 days in a row. And I really don't like that. And so that's why I was wondering if there were some people who,
Your microphone.
Microphone.
there were some people who, for whom Tuesday wasn't the workday, then they could work. Because it only says the regular workday before Christmas or after, for that matter. So my question would also be, do all of the library staff work on every Thursday? Because if they don't, then Thursday isn't a regular workday for them. And it would allow us maybe to be open on one or the other of those days in a limited fashion, probably. But anything to avoid being closed for 5 days in a row.
Well, I would say
That's an impossible dream, but I just, it just really, I looked at that and I said, 5 days, that's almost a whole week.
The only thing I could think of is actually a limited working with the board here to actually open a regular Monday, figuring out if there was a Monday, if Monday was open by that time. Because this is the end of 2024. And so if we had the staffing by that time or on call and staffing to have people on site by that time, we would hope to have Mondays as an open regular day by that time. And that might affect schedules. I can't say that at this point, but because our normal hours, operating hours are Tuesday through Saturday, the majority of all full-time staff work a Tuesday through Saturday schedule, with the exception of 4 of us who work Monday through Friday. And that the regular part-time that work a 30-hour schedule, that they're on there. They have a different day of the week off. I think Wednesday is off for one of them, and I'm not sure Friday. The other one.
One of them works Monday through Friday, and one of them has Wednesdays off right now.
Yeah, so it's basically there's still not enough even with that for them to really operate the full schedule. So I would say instead of a 5-day off, it would be, if we had like Sunday and then Monday hour, and then you had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So there would be a 1-day service, or even if we found a way to do a limited service on that Monday, pending we got the staffing to reopen on that Monday, a limited hours of 2 to 6 or something on that.
So let me paraphrase. You're saying there's a chance we might have increased staffing by the end of next calendar year, such that we are serving the public on Mondays routinely. Hence, there would be some staff who could be at the library that would be Monday, the 23rd.
Right. And
okay.
Right. And so my hope was with the teen librarian recruitment would be that the teen librarian would work on Mondays or other days, and that we would increase our part-time seasonal and then work with the city to request additional staffing in the future, but that we would have it even a shorter period of Monday, not a full 10 to 6 to start.
Yeah.
Something short to have opportunities for the
just
public.
to have the building open for half of the normal number of hours.
Right.
Would I think be a big, and especially those days are when most kids at least aren't going to school. It's winter break or something.
Mm-hmm.
And to say we're a community service, but we're not going to be open during those days when it's easiest for you to get to come see us. It just bothered me. But so what you're saying is we need to work toward having more regular Monday staffing, and then what I was hoping for could possibly take place.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Any other comments? I have none. Any comments on the floor? Then. Okay.
Do we need a motion to approve? I so moved.
Oh,
Do we need a motion?
yes.
Okay.
Second.
Please take a roll call.
Library Trustee Moreau.
Yes.
Thank you. Library Trustee Felgood.
Yes.
Library Trustee Petty.
Yes.
Library Trustee Silvera.
Yes.
And Chair Joshi.
Yes. Next, we have informational reports and staff comments. They're used by the library director to make a brief report on activities or a brief announcement. The director may also ask for clarification or directions regarding scheduling of board meetings and study sessions. So item 4 is receive the report from the director activity.
Thank you,
Back
Chair
to
Joshi.
you.
Appreciate it. Starting off, our teen librarian recruitment is open. So if you know anybody that is interested in a teen librarian position, please let us know. Please have them apply. It's on our City of Monterey Human Resources page, and we are sharing it out widely. I know we've already gotten applications on it. We had our teen intern finished her service learning with California History Room, digitizing VHS as her project before she went back to school in Marina. We are looking at adding a lot of those items up on our YouTube page eventually, and also cataloging them in Content DM. And I've met with the CSUMB service learner regarding adding additional digital content for the Path of History and cemetery walking tours. So in some library activities, I hosted Lee Herrick, our California Poet Laureate, at the library on August 18th. I think that was a great event. I got a call from the state library and I just jumped on it and I said, yeah, absolutely, let's do it. Let's plan it. And I think it was, people were really engaged with that project. So I'm always happy to work with our partners on that. And I've been working with our community partners at the PG Natural History Museum to discuss whale programs for early 2024. So we're looking at doing a Science Saturday over there, as well as some kind of like all age programs over there, and as well as some science illustration programs. This is all part of our kind of highlighting whales. So early 2024, January, most likely. And I began working on a draft RFP, which is a request for proposal for Edda's Eats Cafe. So this, I'm just running through the city manager's office to get them their eyes on it, to look at it and see what that is. But basically what this, you may recall that in the past, the Edda's was operated, and the past library director actually hired part-time seasonal on-call staff to operate the cafe. But what that meant, when other people were gone, then library staff actually had to step in to operate the cafe, which basically the cost was pretty much neutral, but the board decided at that time to agree to close the cafe operations. There have been requests to operate it. I believe is not a commercial kitchen, but it is a prep kitchen. So what that means is that you're not able to basically bake or make food that you're going to sell there, but you can heat items. So if you go to like a coffee shop in the area, a lot of coffee shops are basically their prep kitchens where you can heat something up that is par-baked or pre-baked. They heat it up for you, and they give you your pastry or whatever. But the thought is that is there a nonprofit partner that could do it as a service, get people to work, getting people work experience, job experience, people that might be at risk or at need of this are getting. So the draft is currently with them just to see what the feasibility is. And I know the city works with a lot of rental properties throughout the entire city. So it's just getting eyes on what that would be. And I'll come back to the Board of Library Trustees soon with more content on that. I worked recently with our local history librarian, Andres Garza, to submit Shades of Monterey photo collections to the California Reveal digitization grants. We looked at Shades of Monterey because it was done in 3 stages. And when people donated those photos, those are the photos that you will see inside the library on the walls. And we have hundreds of photos which people donated that are family photos. And so we have all of the information. We have the photo releases already from all the families. And what this would allow us to do is to basically have an online digitization of a lot of these family photos from Monterey that are kind of California history. So we felt that was a good topic. We're hoping that we will get chosen. And we know that our REPL collection images are being processed right now. They're at least going through them because we got that update recently. And we're planning outreach events at the old Monterey Farmers Market in September and October. So I've been in contact with the Old Monterey Business Association, basically, as well as a community partner from Stevenson School to do some STEM activities out there and then also hopefully sell some of our library merchandise and sign people up for library cards. So I'm working on the application for the farmers market right now for that, and created and ordered new shirts for the library store. So those were the shirts that you saw Bianca and Sarah wearing earlier. As a part of my 1 year, I offered my 1 year anniversary here with the library, offered all my library staff a free shirt. And so ordered them. And so I've been working on getting that up. But that was originally a book plate I found in the California History Room. And I just redrew it into that because I was looking at this, doing some research in there. I thought it was really cool.
Are they for sale in the
They're not for sale yet. I've got to wrap them up. I have them in my office. But the bookmobile's repaired and back in service also. And I was able to drive it to our La Mesa stop on August 16th. And so many kids came in, they're like, it's been gone all summer. They were really looking forward to being able to get back on the bus. The anticipated date for our new vehicle is October 25th, and we are working through who's going to go out there to actually receive it. Because we have to have one of our library staff and one of our fleet staff to go out there to actually check off on everything, get training before they ship it out here to California. So hopefully that means that by November, because everything with, I think, getting our fleet involved early is very critical, and our finance people, because once you bring it out, you have to deal with DMV and shipping. And there's some other things in my past library experience where if you don't get a lot of that stuff done, you can have a vehicle waiting. Not okay. And for the Museum and Cultural Arts, our expanded Path of History meetings were held on August 3rd and August 4th. We had held the August 3rd meeting as a public meeting at the Japanese American Citizen League Hall. And we did walking meetings on August 4th through our 2 different paths. So I thought those were fun. And right now I'm scheduled to give 3 talks regarding the Path of History with local groups. So I've been doing some research over at Mayo Hayes O'Donnell Library, and thanks to Gary Stradlin over there. He's been great about helping me out, and then doing our own research on our own museum archives and California History Room to learn more. And received a grant to add an AED to Colton Hall. And those are one of those automated external defibrillators, if somebody's having a heart attack, and felt that it was important to get one of those. So we are adding one of those up at Colton Hall. We already have been approved and met with CHOMP about installation. So
In the museum upstairs.
just down hall over at Colton Hall. Yeah. So the museum upstairs will have one. And I believe if we don't have one here, we will be getting one here as well. So I worked with Clementine, our city clerk, on that. So thanks to Clementine for that. And worked on digitizing some of our Monterey Angels for California State Parks. I noticed that the files they use for a lot of their promotions were either out of date or they were using the wrong angels, because they borrow 9 angels of ours from 1999. So we have 3 different versions of Generations of Erica Frank angels, and they borrow the 1999 one. So I was like, let's get new photos so that you guys can use these for your Christmas in the Adobes and different flyers and everything. So I'm hoping to get some community service learners from CSU MB, hopefully next week at the Service Learner Fairs, to work on some of these projects. So we'll see. And recently led a tour of Colton Hall and Old Jail for a high school class from Japan. And that was really interesting to do, working with translators and everything, and on the fly of getting hey, can you go do this tour for a class of 30 people from Japan, and saying okay. So that was fun. But that is my report. Happy to answer any questions, and thank you to Kim and her staff and all of our staff and Francesca and everybody and Tula, all of our folks that have been great and helpful this period.
I just want to commend you on your creativity, figuring out something to make Edda's Eats work. And yeah, I think it's on. About figuring out a way to make it work with Edda's Eats and also the farmers market and also for getting the library's visibility out there. It's not a day that I don't open either the Weekly or the Herald and I see Brian. And I think it's great for the library. I think it just builds up the visibility.
Oh, go ahead.
See if James wants.
Oh, she hasn't raised her hand. Janie, did you want to raise your hand? Do you have a comment to make?
No, thank you.
One from Brian, one from Bob.
First, I want to commend you on creating a cadre of community partners, because thinking back a little over a year ago now, that was one of the things that we liked in your presentation of yourself, and just looking toward the library being a real community center kind of thing. And the comment from the relative of the visitors from Missouri reflects that. And I was going to ask though, and the PG Museum, of course, is a good one. Your report says you're planning talks there that I guess we would be maybe like co-sponsoring. Is it possible that we might ask, if not the museum, representatives from our partners to come to the library and present something rather than we just sponsoring something at their location. In other words, use our location as what people are thinking about going to. I brought up the desire for making some use of Edazis at a previous board meeting. Could you provide us with a copy just for our own information of the draft of the RFP? I'm curious
Absolutely,
what
Mhm.
Conditions here. And I know September is just next month, but as you get them planned, don't wait until the next board meeting, but let us know what the outreach events are at the farmers market. Because I think that has been an underutilized venue for the library for a long time. And I would like to know what is going on. And, if there's an opportunity for a board member or two to spend some time helping with the outreach event at the farmers market, I think I would suggest that be part of the thinking.
Thank you. And I think, Kim and I talked about putting a calendar together, people willing to work or volunteer at there, so we can add that. And I will say for the outreach event, what we're looking at is that there's a big solar eclipse coming up in October. So we're working with students from Stevenson School to basically on STEM activities based on solar eclipse. That's where it would be kind of tied into. So I think, and so for us though, it'd be getting the awareness and people asking questions about the library, signing them up for cards, selling the merchandise and that kind of stuff there too.
Well, ultimately, my goal would be to have the library be such an ongoing, regular fixture at the farmers market that people, maybe they'd have some question they might say to themselves, oh, well, hey, Tuesday I can go and talk to somebody from the library because I know they're always there. It'd just be, we're out and about and integral to the community activity.
And we also have a good sized contingent of volunteers.
Yeah.
And the
Utilize them.
Friends and Foundation. So plenty of people who will be happy to step in. Any other comments, public comments? No fan club today. Okay, the next one then is item 5. Receive financial report. And that again is Brian Edwards.
That's
Who's
me.
this guy?
Same guy. So we're running, this is the first period of the fiscal year. As you know, July 1 is the start of our fiscal year right there. So that's where you're seeing the percent spent. Roughly, I believe it's around 8.3% is about average if you're running on, on a 12-month cycle. So we're running a little, just slightly under right now. So for under general fund, they're at 7.5%. And our library trust fund only at 3.8%. So we are funding out of our general fund primarily, and total that is 7.3%. So that is all of that under the expenditures. And our revenues are low as of right now. And on that side where you're seeing, I think quite a bit of our revenues are because we have not really started. This doesn't reflect new grants that have coming in. We just got in our notice of funding for zip books. It is less than last year. So Kim and I have talked about that a little bit about whether we ask the Friends and Foundation at a future wish list to supplement that, because otherwise the zip books are going to run out faster than they did in years past. And people do ask for that program quite often. And this doesn't also, MC Gives has also not started. So we actually get a lot more of our revenue and our donations toward the ends of the calendar year when people start thinking about their taxes or people start thinking about MC Gives. And that's where a lot of the revenues and when the grants start to come in with grant payments. So this first year, the first month, the revenue is less than than like an 8% average, but it just comes across at different times of the year.
Any trustee comments? But you're right. The 8% is right in line per month, 12 months. So 1/8, 1/12 is about 8%. So that's in line with what my expectations would be. Any public comments?
There are no public comments, Chair Joshi.
Okay, then we move on to item 6, the statistical report.
That's me. Unless Kim, if you want to do anything. Let me know if you want to jump in and cover anything on there. Yeah, I'd say our numbers are, they were less on July and the prior year. And I do think partially some of that are the visits were down. I still think partially because of the construction that was happening there in July that did impact our use on certain days of the week. Our ebook collection checkout, as you see, still continues to increase over last year, which is fantastic to see those items there. And the percentage of items continue to highlight that our percentage of people using self-checkouts or web, and percentage of that and patron app versus library help desk continues to go up. So having people are getting aware of how to use our technology at the library, which is, helps with the workflow right there. Library card issues were the same, 315. That was pretty interesting. You have the same exact amount of number there. And including just our database searches views, as we've said before, those are down because of the number. We are focused less on a lot of the number of databases that we have now, but we have, I think, the ebooks are what people are continuing to use because we're not keeping up with all of the databases or keeping up with libguides or different guides for people for websites right now. That's really a librarian kind of role. Our wireless usage continues to go up. I will also note that our wireless equipment, we are getting new wireless equipment installed, hopefully by the end of the year or first quarter of 2024. It's all been received by our ISD department. So I imagine there may be some period of downtime. I don't know yet. So I will figure that out. But they're going to be upgrading all of the hardware for all of the networks for that. So hopefully that should increase the total number of users. And with that, the wireless and the email, we're going to be looking at a new computer and print system. We're working with ISD on that as well. Our programs, you'll see a variety here of July 22 versus July 23. As we talked before, the youth programs were the same, but program for teens were up, program for adults were up, and offsite programs, we had one increase over there. But actually the total number of program attendance was lower, and that was primarily because of the decrease in youth programs. So I don't know, I think there might have been more people at the outdoor programs, as Bianca and Sarah were talking about earlier, when people were coming back from COVID and looking for outdoor programs and outdoor things to do. We had smaller attendance at the programs on Colton Hall lawn than I think in prior years. So on average, you'll see kind of just a pretty much a wide variety here of, of our youth programs. So there's ones on site, and our adult programs jumped from 9 people to 149. So some of those are great to see. And our volunteers increased from 44 to 51. So yeah, people are still looking at that. And then also at the very bottom, we're looking at a way to mark this for future sessions, but this is the public meeting room reservations. This is something that I know Trustee Petty had asked for and others had asked for the last meeting. But the community room bookings for that month there was one booking for 15 people. The solarium bookings, that's the smaller room, 13 bookings for 44. So the solarium is really where we're getting a lot more bookings regularly of people looking for a small group place that they could just come in, just meet for a couple hours and go. We get a variety of groups for that. So I think that's a really positive use of that space. But we're continuing to track the numbers, and we'll continue to have that information on future reports on the statistics. And happy to answer any questions regarding this month, or July month, I should say.
Any questions? Right.
Is it purely a staffing issue? Looking at the pre-COVID data, number of programs and number of attendees for adults compared to the most recent year, 22, 23, significantly more programs during the year pre-COVID compared to our last calendar year, and correspondingly a lot more in attendance. But even the average number of adults attending per program was greater the year before. We shut down for a while and everything. So is it simply a matter of we aren't as fully staffed as we were back in 2019/20? And that's why there are so fewer programs this past year than there were then?
I don't know if Kim, if you want to speak on that. I don't have the 19 numbers in front of me right now, but I will say I know that we
in our packet for 1920, there were 163 programs and a little over 2,000 in attendance
for the
adults
for the full year.
Yeah, I'm
August
looking year to
through
year. Yeah, not month to month.
Right. And it's hard to say because I mean, like, if we looked at year to year, we're at we're at 117 versus 163.
Exactly.
So it is, but I know that we had a senior librarian, we had other librarians, we had different different staffing model.
So it's at least partly due to the fact that this past year we didn't have as many staff who might be involved with adult programs as in 2019/20.
Right. And Kim, you want to speak on that?
And I think another factor is our hours. We close earlier in the evening.
Yeah.
We're not open on Sundays or Mondays. So that it makes it harder to schedule things also.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I should have thought of that. Closing so early and we have talked about picking one night each during the week when we might be open past 6 o'clock, but you're right. I mean, almost every time when I did a Medicare talk, it was like from 7 to or 6:30 to closing time. So I'm sure that was a contributing factor.
Can I share? Just
great.
one, Trustee Petty, one additional factor for these numbers is that we did transition to Zoom programs very quickly into the pandemic. And this is from August to July. Those programs had high attendance.
Yeah.
And since that was the end of March through end of July, that will have increased these.
In other words, we had fewer Zoom programs in the last calendar year than we may have. Right.
And people were really craving for that connection back then.
And would you just clarify for me, this has probably been a line item on every statistical report I've looked at for 10 years on this board, but where it talks about circulation of the collection, one of the very first sections there.
Yeah.
MPL item checkouts at MPL and PGPL. Does that mean how many of our items were checked out? But it doesn't distinguish between of that number, how many were checked out by MPL card holders versus PGPL card holders. Is that right?
Correct. Kim, do you know that? Because I thought this was I thought this was right, that this was our items checked out MPL and PGPL, but not by card, not separated by card holders.
Right.
And I don't think we are separating by card holders.
So it's about 220,000 the last calendar year. And that would be number of Monterey Library items checked out, regardless of whether it was a PG or a Monterey card holder.
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to understand what the MPs and PGs and Ls and everything all added up to. Thanks.
One comment I have about that is a lot of people who live in New Monterey find it more convenient to go to the PG library than to drive out here in the so they will check out, even though they are Monterey.
Sure.
And I will add, because our delivery driver is out, that we've been doing delivery. So we've added that onto our workflow. And so, yeah, I drove over, I think, 5 bins of material this morning and picked up 5 bins on my way back to PG. You know, we are actively partners here in this library. So we do see that. We see the people that are using both libraries quite often.
I can't say how valuable it is having that partnership with PG Library, because on a number of occasions I have learned of an author and I wanted to read their books. And it seems like an author, maybe there are 10 books on Koha, and they're all at PG. And another author, there might be 10 books in the system, but they're all at Monterey. And you know, if I happen to pick one, it's that PG has purchased all the books from. It's really nice to be able to have that back and forth.
A comment.
I just had a question. I'm trying to understand, are the headings wrong on the second page? Because we're going 2019-20 and then 2021. And why do we care? I mean, aren't we trying to compare to 22-23? Why would we? So
That's on the next chart, 22-23.
The 2019-2020 is pre-pandemic, so that's interesting.
Yeah, right.
But the following one says 2020 to 2021.
Hmm.
So is that a mistake, or have we been, Bob? I mean, have we been asking? Why do we need that?
I think it's just there because it's chronological. I agree with you. I think the pre-pandemic data, 1920, is maybe the benchmark.
Yes.
And then the previous chart that includes the most recent calendar year would be the comparison point.
That's where we would want the current one.
Yeah, the middle years are,
Pandemic to now, and to see how it's recovering.
yeah, I agree.
But
And
I didn't know whether the heading is wrong or whether we're asking for data that we don't need.
I think what's happening is we're getting further and further away from it. And so as our calendar moves forward, because these are dates that we've been asked for to provide in the past. And so if we continue to move 1 month forward, we're going to continue to get, like, as this date is August through July, you're going to be, next month's report is going to say September through August, and then you're going to be more into the pandemic as well. So these reports are just going to continue to go. So if we have a benchmark that we know specifically, we want X month of this year of 2019 or whatever it is that we need to know, whatever we want to report on, I think we could provide that data. We just want to know what exactly should we provide
So
on
the
the report.
second column, my understanding is that the first column is pre-pandemic because that's still interesting.
It's in the middle of the
Year or
pandemic
so.
too.
Hmm?
It's in the middle of the pandemic too, because the pandemic started really March.
I know, that's true.
And so that's what I mean. It's like, as we go forward, we're going to continue to lead into this. And by next year, we're going to have, unless we just say 2019, 2020, I'm just saying you could do 2018 to 2019, but whatever the board wants, I think we could try to figure out how to reflect that accurately on this report.
It just seems to me that it
Yeah,
makes more sense.
We want to know last
Okay.
year how the recovery was going.
Right.
I think by now we can probably,
Yeah, maybe we don't need it.
we
anymore.
don't need that anymore. So
Oh, yeah, okay.
You're not suggesting we cease looking at 2019, 2020, because that's clearly the pre-pandemic
Well, it's
benchmark in my mind.
Brian pointed out, the pandemic started in March 2020. So we're now looking at data that's, because each month it shifts ahead. We're now
But-
looking at data that's in the middle of the pandemic.
But if you take the same 12-month period, regardless of when month 1 and month 12 are, during the 2019, 2020 period, and compare it with the same month 1 to month 12 of whatever the most recent year is, you'll have the earliest and the most current.
Right, but it seems to me that the pandemic was such an anomaly that March 2020, April 2020, that data is meaningless because the library was closed,
Right.
Oh, well,
right? So you're looking at data here, 6 months of data.
oh, I
that's
see what you're saying.
meaningless.
Okay.
So you really, if you want to look at pre-pandemic, you gotta stop in March of 2020 and
Okay.
not look at the rest.
And go back 12 months.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So as we roll forward, we're now looking at data that says 3 months of library closed. What does it tell us?
Yeah, no, that should,
By
I
now
mean,
it's-
for using the oldest data as a benchmark, that should not be in it because the library wasn't open.
Right, so maybe we can just stop this page,
Do you,
or, I
would
mean,
you like 2019 and 20, or just the prior to the pandemic?
yeah, I mean, we
included?
could do 2018 to
2019,
2019,
once we
you know, if
reach
you want to do something
next
like
in
that. And, but
spring.
then compare it to current,
Okay,
not 2020 to 2021.
Yeah, of the 4 years that we have presented here in these two charts, the middle 2 years,
Mhm.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to
Mhm.
say.
Yeah.
And so whatever reflects pre-pandemic and current
Mhm.
is what
Exactly.
you really need
Yeah, that's why I was asking about the
for
numbers of
for a
adult
while
programs and
until we see
attendance.
we can say, oh, well, we're back up to where we were, and then we can stop
Mhm.
that. But this is not giving us any
Right.
meaningful information. It seems like David has to do a little extra work for nothing. So,
Well, the numbers are all in somebody's database, it's just a matter of
Yeah.
sorting.
Yeah.
them,
right, that's but what we're pulling out isn't telling us anything. Thank you.
Jenny, any comments from you?
No, thanks.
Okay, no. We're coming to the end. It's time for trustee comments.
No comment.
Just that I had a chance to pop by and say hello to the bookmobile on Tuesday. That was really nice up at the Casanova Oak Knolls Park.
Hmm.
That's it.
Jenny, any comments?
Yeah, I also visited the bookmobile in Casanova, Oak Knolls, and it was before it was just the van. It was not the bookmobile, but it was still good to have the presence there and see other people coming up to use it as well. And I want to thank Francesca for all the emails back and forth trying to figure out how I could participate in this meeting.
you're very welcome.
Well,
Is there any way that you could twist Andre's arm to schedule fewer adult events that conflict directly on the fourth Thursday of the month with our board meetings?
That might be a good comment with Tim Thomas, who's been doing a lot of the talks.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, I'm talking about those
Yeah.
primarily, at least
Yeah.
recently. I mean, I look at that and I say, well, might as well delete the announcement because I'm going to be sitting here with my fellow trustees, not,
They are.
I guess you can go back and look at them later, but
Yeah, they're all on YouTube.
that requires a little bit more than anyhow. If there's a chance. And just for my reflect on my ignorance, the three sponsors that we had, the pizza place and
Monterey Bay Creamery.
what was the third one?
In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah, I know where In-N-Out is. I know where there was a Pizza My Way or
My heart.
Pizza My Heart. I don't know where Monterey Bay Creamery is. That's on Fisherman's Wharf. Okay.
with the cow?
Yep,
Yeah.
had ice cream there last night.
Well, I only asked because it would be nice to return the favor and patronize places if we're going to go out for whatever it is. And I didn't know where that was located.
A comment from me is, I'm really delighted we have these presentations, this time from Sarah and the previous one about the fundraising. It really makes it interesting to hear from people who are involved in it
Mhm.
and gives them a chance to also make the presentation to us and say, yeah, you're the one who's doing it.
Mhm.
So,
One quick last thing, you were talking about installing a new wireless system.
Mhm.
Is there any chance they could do it on Sunday and Monday when we're closed anyway?
I'll-
Instead of having to close
Right.
down the service?
Yeah, I'll talk with them because I don't know what the impact is on
Yeah.
all of that.
Because you were saying there might be some downtime, and I thought, well, we're already down Sundays
Right.
and Mondays.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, now we come to
Sure.
a vote, please. No vote
No need
needed. Jenny, you want to stay on or you want to go?
What's happening?
We're more.
We're adjourning if it's okay with you.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'll go snorkeling.
Meeting adjourned.